We're back, family. Um, Excited to be with you guys. Today. Today is going to be about transparency. It's going to be about mistakes that I've made and how those mistakes have actually shaped me. The mistakes that I've made, I'm absolutely grateful for. They're the things that you look back on, because hindsight is always 2020. You look back on and you're like, man, if I didn't make that mistake, where would I be today? And one of the scriptures that comes to mind is the scripture that talks about failing 7 times, someone who's righteous or moving in the right direction. It's in Proverbs. Moving in the right direction, failing 7 times, but getting back up. And that's more for a righteous person. Or in the other half of that, the B clause of that scripture is the wicked falling and stumbling and not getting back up. And I think what that speaks to me is ultimately it's talking about what's doing what's right in the sight of God. But as an addendum to that, it's also talking about if you're doing the right things and you're actually moving in the right direction, failure is inevitable. That's part of the game. That's part of how you actually build success and build the things that you want, need, and desire in this life. So to start off, I just want to speak to you guys about recognizing that mistakes are never avoided. They're never avoided. They're actually survived. And what I mean by survived is whenever you get in a situation or you get in a space and time in your life where you're like, man, I made this mistake. I went over back and forth, why I made it, where I faltered, and all those different things. You start to realize what it's building in you, especially if it's a mistake that you either trying to avoid or something you were learning or something that you misunderstood. Those are the things that help you build the character and the grit that you need to move forward in life as a young man. The other part of that is what it teaches you. It teaches you that everyone goes through it, for one. Also that whenever you make a mistake, it's good to own up to it, fess up to it, because you want to leave those mistakes in the past, but you also want to continue to learn from them, to keep them in your back pocket, so to speak. You want to make sure that those around you also know that you're not perfect, but you're also always growing. And that's key to any successful venture that you're in life, and all the things that you want to do for your family, your loved ones, especially those who are in school, higher education, things of that nature. Those are the things that you want to make sure that you are falling in line with after mistakes. You want to assess, and you don't want to make the same mistake twice. You want to make sure that you're growing and learning from those mistakes. And then in addition to that, mistakes, what they teach us is patience. They teach you how to discern problems. They teach you the best path forward. Because I'll tell you, I had a situation in my life where I did 20 years in the military, and just fast forward through those 20 years. I did 20 years in the military, and the mistake that I made was, it could have almost cost me my entire career. The biggest thing that I learned in that process was that the first thing I did was own up to the mistake that I made. Then I addressed the people that I made the offense or the mistake against. And then I actually served the time. Obviously, I wasn't in jail or anything like that, but I served the time that it took for me to right that wrong, or whatever the rule or the regulation was. And I served it without complaining or grumbling about, something being against me, because I owned up to it. I knew that I had done the thing, right? I basically went against military code. And it was one of those things that shaped me for for the rest of my life up until now. I retired in 2019, and from 2019 until now, that always sticks in my mind. Is always at the forefront of, everything that I do surrounding money and responsibility, because that particular mistake shaped me. And I want you guys to recognize that you're going to have these stories, especially as young men. You may already have some, but those type of things, they build in you a foundation to where you should never go back below that foundation. And just to tag along with that story, I want to make sure that all the mistakes that you go through, they should never be regrets. They should always be you taking accountability and responsibility. It's regret versus responsibility is really where you want to land your hat. You want to make sure that taking responsibility shows that you're in a posture, you're in a mode to lead. And that's what any great leader worth their salt will tell you, especially hearing that they've had way more failures than wins, but the wins or the failures make those wins even sweeter. And most people, let's look at sports. Most people in sports, they always remember those failures, but that made them better to building towards those wins, those championships, those trophies, those individual accolades. So just look at that when you're looking towards success and you're looking for those avenues and those heartaches. They're unavoidable. The next thing that I want to do is reframe this idea around mistakes. There's going to be fear. There's going to be, apprehension, but we need to reframe it to a standpoint of moving in the right direction, basically showing us where this is instruction. This is knowing what not to do, because we've went through all the trials and the tribulations. You've heard, some of, your more famous people where, the gentleman who built McDonald's, he got so many no's. The gentleman who built KFC, he got so many no's. Trying and failing. All in all, it's important to recognize that failure is just a reframing. We're not disqualifying ourselves because we're only up against ourselves. So failure just speaks to you reframing your life. You taking a small detour from the path that you were on to failure, right? You're taking that small detour and getting around that failure, and you're regrouping to make sure that you're doing that next activity, that next task, that next job, whatever the case may be, you're doing it in the right frame of mind. And that's the biggest part of recognizing what mistakes can do for you versus always looking at them against you. There's this term in market trading or anything else that you do, but it's called FOMO, fear of missing out. You don't want to have the fear of missing out or the regret that you didn't try something or you didn't move forward to something. So mistakes are inevitable because we all are in a process of learning. So you want to make sure that you are building that person within you so that when you come up against mistakes, you know how to handle them, you know how to redress, you know how to move those things out of the way and get into a space where you are more confident in the thing that you're doing. So I hope you guys have recognized that the goal is wisdom, not perfection. People who try to lean into perfection, they're always going to have mistakes. So why not lean into the mistakes and build that wisdom? That's the goal. Hopefully today, we've kind of gone through some things that just speak to where mistakes can lead you if you let them. I heard someone say that life is 10% of what happens to you, but 90% of what you make of it. So take those mistakes, learn from them, and I'll see you on the next one.